So, Bryce, you're really going to hate me when I say this, but Week 8 is in the books.
I thought I burned that book.
Apparently not, but welcome back, guys. Week 8 recap. We're going to first start with the Monday night game. Big win for your 49ers. That puts them, 2 games up at least in the division?
Yeah. Alex Smith showed up. This every other
Amazingly
game.
enough, only one incomplete pass.
And that was
That's ridiculous.
drop wide open.
Yeah.
Wide open drop pass. So
He should have been perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. He's so up and down. How confident are you as a quarterback? You know the Niners are going to make the playoffs. They're probably. I'm sure they're going to win the division. How confident are you in Alex Smith as a quarterback in the playoffs, as up and down as he's been in the regular season?
As long as our defense sticks it, I'm okay. I'm okay. You know, our division, we've showed our dominance over our division.
Mm-hmm.
We're the only ones that can beat our division.
It seems like it.
Smith throws 18 of 19, 232 yards for 3 touchdowns. Excuse me, 3 touchdowns. The big thing for the 49ers defense is they actually showed up again. It's like you were telling me off camera it's which Alex Smith is going to show up. And my response to that is which 49ers defense is going to show up. And the good 49ers defense showed up this Monday night. Stevens Howling only rushed for 6 yards.
And
that was the most in the Cardinals.
4 straight games, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
They started the season 4-0, and now they are 4-4.
And I believe only 2 teams in the history of the NFL have done that. The Broncos, I forget what year, finished with an even record. And then the Raiders in 01 or 02, they actually made it to the Super Bowl. Whichever year the Raiders made it to the Super Bowl.
Moving on to the Sunday night game, the what was supposed to be a shootout between Drew Brees and Peyton Manning ended up being the Peyton Manning show. Peyton Manning, guys, is slowly becoming the MVP of this season for me, in my opinion. He has done nothing but.
I'm sorry, you're wearing the jersey of the MVP so far this season.
I can't do that unbiased. But look at what the Broncos have done in 7 games. Granted, they're 4-3, but Peyton Manning has done nothing to really hurt them.
And I think he's
minus the 3 interceptions against the Falcons.
Yep.
But really, he's done fantastic. I mean, he threw for 305 yards, 3 touchdowns.
That was very true on a very weak defense. Is that his 3rd or 4th straight game of 300-plus yards? 4th straight game of 300-plus yards, and this was a guy coming back from an injury that people said didn't have it anymore.
Didn't have his arm strength.
Yeah, and I honestly believe that the Broncos will be a better second-half team once, almost said Tebow, once Manning gets into sync with his wide receivers a little bit more. They're going to be a dangerous second-half
We'll touch on the Tebow aspect here shortly. 34-14 final score between the Broncos and Saints. Drew Brees, don't take it. He went 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a decent night.
Decent for his numbers.
Yeah, it's decent for an NFL quarterback.
Not for an elite NFL quarterback.
Maybe
which
not.
Brees is supposed to be.
I know this is going to be real painful for guys to talk about, but let's talk about the Giants-Cowboys game.
Cowboys had game 1. They had it won. They choked. What do you think?
I think Des Bryant is a cancer on the team that needs to get rid of.
Let's not hold back, Bryce.
In my personal opinion.
Hold on. Take the fan hat off for 2.5. Right. Let's do an analyst.
Let's take some positives from that game. Tony Romo gave the Giants a short field. I want to say 3 or 4 straight drives. They were inside the Cowboys' 40. The defense held, and they were without their leading tackler, Sean Lee. That's really good for the Dallas, but Dallas's offense, and I tweeted this out during the game, they look like the most discombobulated group of players out there. They remind me of the Eagles, just a bunch of superstars and a lot of talent. And other than Romo and Witten being on the same page, it doesn't seem like he's on the same page with anybody else in his offense, and they have no run game.
In the first half.
Go ahead.
My bad. Yeah, but in the first half. In the second half, the Cowboys...
They came back. I agree. They came back, and they were only a half a pinky away from winning that game. So as bad as they looked in the second half, they looked like the complete opposite or in the first half. I don't understand it.
Romo throws for 427 yards. 37 yards, excuse me. 437 yards.
60-something pass attempts?
62.
Yeah, because they just don't have a run game. There's no balance.
Well,
like
no, not since DeMarco Murray's gone out of it.
And he's also out next week, but we'll talk about that in the next show.
But 167 yards for Jason Witten. He had a fantastic day.
Set a career record, or an NFL record for most receptions by a tight end in one game, and the second most receptions by any wideout in the game, second to Brandon Marshall.
Speaking of elite quarterbacks not having a good day, 192 yards for Eli Manning, no touchdowns.
Well, that's like I said. The defense, they kept getting short fields, and the Dallas D kept holding. I would be a little concerned with the Giants' offense if I was a Giants fan from that game. But having said that, Cowboys' pass defense is number one in the league, so they were going up against a very elite secondary.
Moving on, Raiders at Chiefs. It was kind of just a boring game. Yeah, you have to look and see what it was. 26-16. Raiders actually win this.
Chiefs haven't played all year.
Chiefs are awful, guys. What did you say earlier? That the Chiefs have not led?
Through 7 games, the Chiefs have not led for 1 second. It's the worst record an NFL team has had since 1929 when the Buffalo Bisons went 8 games without leading in 1 second. They haven't led for 1 solitary second. Nothing. They haven't led at all this season, despite having a win, which doesn't make any sense.
Darren McFadden runs for 114 yards. Matt Castle he's not the quarterback that he was in New England when he backed up Tom Brady. Let's just put it that way. Chiefs are now 1-6 on the season.
He didn't even start that game though.
Brady Quinn did. Yeah, Castle came in and kind of put a little life into him, but not a lot.
Redskins at Steelers. RG3 actually had a kind of a down game for him.
Normal game.
Yeah, for him.
Steelers looked like they broke out of jail and wore their outfits to the game.
That was hideous. I thought they were going to lose just for that aspect. Yeah,
some ugly uniforms.
Ben Roethlisberger throws for 222 yards, 3 touchdowns. A fantastic game for Ben Roethlisberger. It's the first 3 touchdowns he's ever thrown against the Washington Redskins ever.
And I seen something I had never seen. Well, I had never personally seen. I don't know if it's happened, but at the end of the game, the Redskins had the ball, and RG3 said, "Forget it," and he knealed. He said, "I'm done." He's, I guess when you have that kind of game,
when you're down by more than 2 scores, why not?
Yeah.
Dolphins beat the ever-living crap out of the Jets. Let's just put
There's
it that way.
a lot of crap in that team too.
30-9.
That's a lot of puffed up people.
At halftime, it was 20-0. The Jets are just an awful, awful team right now.
Complete disaster.
I don't know. Let's not go there, Bryce. Keep it
but
civil.
Not only that, but the Dolphins look like they are the surprise team of the year. I
agree. I agree.
Real good this year.
As bad as the AFC looks this year, I think the Dolphins have a legitimate chance of getting one of those wild cards to make it to the playoffs.
And as much as I hate this, and I have to do this just because it's going to... When does the Tebow screen start?
Doesn't matter. Tebow sucks. Sanchez sucks.
What if he takes over and turns his team around? What if?
At 3-5?
Broncos.
I'll go eat a piece of bark off of a tree out there.
Gosh, yeah, I'll put Tebow in.
Speaking of...
Put the third string quarterback in from Bama. I forget his name. Well, why not?
Yeah.
The England game. Let's move on to that. The Patriots at the Rams.
I swung and whiffed at this one.
Yeah, you did.
Wow.
Hey, for the first drive, the Rams were looking good.
That's true. They were ahead.
Yeah,
that's more than the Chiefs can say all season.
Yeah, let's just put it this way: the Rams did take a 7-0 lead early in the first quarter, and then they allowed 45 unanswered straight.
I think they thought they were playing soccer because they scored 7 and thought they were fine.
Well, it was Wembley Stadium.
It was in Wembley, yeah.
Tom Brady had a fantastic game: 304 yards, 4 touchdowns. We were talking about this earlier. Is what Tom Brady is. Tom Brady's not the elite quarterback that he once was.
Well, he didn't have to be with that running game now. They have such great balance on that team.
And just a quick mental note for this: the Patriots surpassed 350 of total offensive yards for the 17th consecutive game, breaking the record set by St. Louis in '99 and 2000.
Wow. I was about to say, I figured it'd be St. Louis.
Yeah,
greatest show on turf, man. That was a wonder to behold.
Moving on to a really, really close game with a fantastic finish. Mm-hmm. Let's just put it this way: Titans are at home. They're winning. Colts come back, tied in fourth quarter, and on a fantastic play by what was his name?
Steve McMahon.
Victor. Anyway. There was a sorry. Just mind went blank. Sorry, guys. He had a fantastic play into the end zone to actually win the game. You're still not helping me out.
I didn't watch the game. It's Colts-Titans.
Vic Ballard.
Oh, Vic Ballard.
Yeah, Vic Ballard. I mean, he literally leaned into the...
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to see if his jersey's in the closet.
Sorry.
Hey, the Colts
I feel so bad right now.
The Colts look like a good team, too.
They do. They look better than I thought they were going to look.
Yes.
They're now 4-3 on the season. Andrew Luck is actually having a pretty decent year. He threw for 297 yards and a touchdown.
That's not shabby.
He's a star. He's going to be a star for a while.
Mm-hmm. Green Bay rolls again. Granted, it's against the Jaguars, and NJD's out, but 24-15.
But you know the reason they only scored 24 is because Jennings and the other wide receiver
Nelson.
Yeah, I mean,
let me squash something that I heard on the radio today, and I've seen people on Twitter talk about. This is going to switch over to college football a little bit. They're saying that the Alabama Crimson Tide, college football team, could beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cleveland Browns, and the Kansas City Chiefs. No.
Maybe the Chiefs.
No.
I'm not going to argue.
There's no college team on earth that can beat an NFL team.
I can disagree with you, but okay. Moving on. Another fantastic game for the Lions. The Lions just keep having these weird come from behind. We're still not awful. Yeah. We want to show that we're good. Kind of wins.
We're still decent. We can still win, but not very convincingly.
Stafford had a fantastic game. 352 yards, three touchdowns. They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter to come back and win 24-28 final score against Seahawks. Russell Wilson
had another good game.
236 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he was more talking about a guy who was not drafted very high. And he was just kind of not expected to be the starting quarterback, especially after
the money
they signed for Flynn.
Yeah. The money they gave him, $7 million a year?
And if you look at what the Seahawks did, or look at what Russell Wilson did in this game, it's a stark contrast to what he's done in every other game. Every other game he's played in, you see those explosive plays by him. You see those long balls down the field time and time again. He's very accurate on long balls, but he's inaccurate on short balls, which is the complete opposite for what Seahawks did. Russell Wilson was very accurate on his short passes, which I would think would be more of a bright spot because the NFL is more about consistency than random explosive plays.
I agree. Moving on to the Chargers at the Browns. We whiffed on this one, too. Trent Richardson basically does it all. Scores the first touchdown with 4 minutes left to go in the first quarter, and that's all. That's all they needed. 7-6 final score.
What's the deal with the Chargers?
How do they only put up 6 points? I don't understand that.
You've always talked about the Chiefs have all this.
Yeah.
The Chargers really do have all that on that team.
Yeah.
And they put 6 points against the Browns.
Yeah. I mean, that's against the Browns, who are quite inferior. Yeah. In my opinion, they're an extremely inferior team.
Let's talk about the Bears-Panthers game real quick.
Bears.
The Panthers find ways to lose.
Just tell us about it.
I agree.
They do. They found ways to lose. They found a way to lose to the Falcons a couple weeks back. They found a way to lose to the Bears. They don't want to win.
Okay, so if you're the new Carolina Panthers GM, you have, as much as you don't want to cut your losses, you have to try to build around Cam Newton.
Oh, right? Absolutely. There's potential on that team.
But where do you go from there? Because you have to build something around Cam, and Cam has to actually have.
I would say Ron Rivera has to be fired. In my opinion, if the season continues like it is now, I say he has to be fired.
All right, 23-22, final kick win for the Bears. Robbie Gould hits I think it was like 51-yard field goal for the final field goal of the game. It was fantastic ending for that game. I was nervous for the Bears because my Bears defense was sucking in fantasy. Moving on to the Falcons at the Eagles. First win Falcons have picked up since 1988, since before you were born.
Yeah, I wasn't even born yet. Or you're 10.
I was 3, thanks.
Plus 7.
But Falcons looked solid.
They did.
They really did. Their rush defense is still worrying me, but everything else, I mean, their pass defense has gotten so much better from where it was last season.
There's not a lot of teams in the NFL anymore that have elite running backs. I mean, if you let a team go over 100 yards of rushing on you, that's all right.
But they have an offense that will keep up with them.
Exactly. And their pass defense is really good, and they have tight ends that come out of nowhere and catch touchdown passes.
And I think I saw the stat earlier in the week. Matt Ryan, when he throws for 3 touchdowns in a game, the Falcons are either 17-0 or 18-0 now.
Mike Smith, with that win, is now took over first place on Falcons
with 50 wins.
And Andy Reid with that loss, crazy. That's the first loss Andy Reid has ever. That's the first loss Andy Reid has ever suffered after a bye week.
It's time to get rid of Andy Reid.
I think it's time to get rid of Mike Vick too, but we'll talk about this later. Buccaneers.
Subject.
Buccaneers at Vikings. Yeah, let's not talk about that right now. Buccaneers at Vikings for the Thursday night game. Real quick.
Adrian Peterson looked good.
AP continues to look good.
Josh Freeman looks terrific.
Freeman continued. This is what, the third or fourth game in a row that he's looked
third or fourth good. Freeman made some throws Thursday that were just breathtaking.
19 for 36.
I mean, some of those passes. I remember one pass to Mike Williams. Like there was no margin for error in that pass, and it was delivered perfectly. And I was just sitting there like, is this the same Josh Freeman that we saw earlier in this year and a lot of last year? How is this the same guy? Because his arm accuracy looks 100% better.
Let's be real. Doug Martin probably just won the game for them. 135 yards rushing with a touchdown. He also led the team in receiving with 79 yards and a touchdown.
They lost their left guard though this week, and Martin, I believe, is averaging 4.8 yards per carry to the left side where Nix was. Where in contrast, he's only averaging 2.2 yards per carry on the right side. They lost a Pro Bowl guard. I don't know how bad it's going to hurt them, but it can't be good.
That's it for the recap for Week 8, guys. Catch us for the Week 9 preview. We're already halfway through the NFL season.
8 weeks are in the books. I can't believe this.
For Bryce and Daniel, I'm Billy. Thanks for watching, guys.